I've got 10 more underseen, less well-known horrors for you today, a few of which are recommendations to watch, though sadly a few more are strong recommendations to avoid. All of these films are taken from a Letterboxd list I created in October, where I watched a horror a day focusing primarily on these lesser-known horrors. All of which can be seen in my first video on this topic, link in the description below, along with the Letterboxd list itself. So what better way to start than one of the worst films I've ever seen?
Hello?
Dawn Breaks Behind the Eyes is a 2021 German gothic horror drama which comes across like a Giallo One Cut of the Dead, which morphs into climax and then society, but somehow, in spite of this clashing of genres and inspirations, culminates in one of the dullest films I've ever seen. This is only the second film I've ever rated half a star on Letterboxd, joining Halloween Ends in that small elitist club. I just don't understand how or why anyone would write something like this. It's a masterclass in how to create something devoid of anything. It's not well made, though the first half is at least intentionally bad, I think. Awful F-grade acting, a script where words are definitely said, and it's not scary or dramatic or moving or deep or anything. The only plus point is that it's only 75 minutes long, but I would say that's 75 minutes too long. Sweetie You Won't Believe It is essentially a comedy version of Deliverance with slapstick, tons of OTT gore, and piss and fart jokes. It's also the first film I've seen from Kazakhstan.
Great success.
It features a trio of losers who decide to go on a fishing trip in the Kazakh wilderness, who put themselves in danger when witnessing a calamitous mob hit, and later a wronged and seemingly indestructible psychopath. It's surprisingly well shot with some great visual choices during some frenetic chases. All the cast are really going for it, and it did give me a few laughs even though most of the humour is very low level. There are pacing issues and it does start to run out of juice towards the end, but definitely worth checking out for an easy but gory comedy watch. Blood Quantum is a zombie movie with a small twist. What if certain tribes of indigenous Americans are immune to the outbreak? Usually when low-budget horrors try to break past the constraints of those financial restrictions with misplaced confidence and ambition, it almost always goes terribly wrong. Blood Quantum is an exception, telling a time-spanning zombie story including the outbreak, filled with tons of gnarly and cool gore and standout genre moments. Unfortunately, as with many other low-budget horrors, the acting calibre and screenplay polish isn't quite there, offering very little new, other than its only lightly explored indigenous heritage backstory. Protagonists are all a little paper thin, with the main antagonist not having nearly enough motivation for the atrocities he commits. So massively flawed, but genuinely a commendable and ambitious stab at something mildly different in the zombie genre. Door is probably the least well-known horror film I've covered in either of my videos on this topic. This Japanese home invasion horror was originally released in 1988, but has never been shown outside Japan until a worldwide re-release in 2023. Was it worth the wait? It was not. Though I can't say that with full confidence, as I actually turned this off after about 20 minutes. Apparently it goes really hard in the last 20 minutes, and perhaps I should have just skipped to that point, but what precedes this section is terribly written and acted thriller of sorts, which for some reason looks and sounds like a daytime TV advert from the 80s. I kept thinking the lead character was going to turn to the camera with a box of cereal or washing powder with a thumbs up and a cheesy grin. It's not the vibe I'm after in a horror thriller. You might get different mileage out of this one than I did, but please do approach the door with caution.
And you don't like the garlic fries? I think I told you. That's me only clean short.
Let the Wrong One In is a very low budget Irish comedy horror and very likely a first film for most involved, so I'm going to try and not be too harsh. But this film does feel like something that would have been made on kids TV in the 80s. It's toothless as a vampire film, and it gave me one mild titter in its 90-minute runtime, so obviously not great as a comedy. I mean, I love a dad joke, I've peddled a few stinkers in my time, but these are more like granddad jokes. It has a few fun moments of gore towards the end, and Irish charm and humour goes a long way, but it's all a bit underdeveloped and doesn't do much with a pretty unoriginal idea.
What is that?
Hey, you see it? It's a bug.
Bug from 2006 is a curious little film. Directed by none other than William Friedkin and starring Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd, This chamber drama horror is set almost entirely in a motel room. It's based on a play by Tracy Letts, with Shannon reprising his stage role. Story-wise, there's not a great deal here. It's basically a summary of how paranoia can spread very quickly like a virus. It feels a lot like an Outer Limits Twilight Zone B-side, in that it has a central idea, but perhaps doesn't know the best way to extract its full potential. And it does have that slightly wanky, stagey delivery of dialogue, which is often way overwritten, but is at least interesting and engaging in this case. Performances are great, and the film would be pretty much nothing without Michael Shannon and Ashley Judd. Glad I watched it, but I won't be rushing for a rewatch as fast as you rush in to click that subscribe button.
What's going on with you?
Me? I'm just Daddy. Brandy?
Suitable Flesh is absolute trash, but it knows it. This is definitely going for that 80s Stuart Gordon camp B-movie style, and it gets there on occasion. It does sadly feel like a missed opportunity though, and only hits full batshit in the last 20 minutes when it should have got to that level after 20 minutes. Unlike with many of these retro 80s B-movies, it's actually a little dull for the most part and becomes frustrating not getting to the chaos in the opening 80 minutes or so. Both Heather Graham and Barbara Crampton seem to be having fun, but it's such a shame they're both on a leash for so long. And this might make me sound like a bit of a pervert, but for a film about a horny, sex-addicted demon, it's pretty tame stuff. Come on guys, we're all adults here. If I were to describe The Long Walk using a spoiler-filled synopsis, you'd likely watch it immediately. It has such a brilliantly interesting post-it note premise, and I've never seen a film like this before. It's a dark, somber and complex ghost movie with a very clever time travel mystery which greatly rewards patience from the viewer. Pretty sure this is the first film I've seen from Laos, and the culture of the country also feeds into the richness of the story. Technically it's strong too, with a deep colour palette, solid cinematography and fantastic sound design. It won't be for everyone, it is slow and features a seemingly impenetrable protagonist, but otherwise I thought this was unique and pretty damn good. So this is my gold star recommendation for this video. Get it on your watch lists.
J'ai vu un mort. Dans la mer.
Evolution, no, not that one, is a moody, minimalist body horror light. It comes over a little like an early Yorgos Lanthimos film, but without the narrative punch. We have a French island inhabited only by single mothers, each with one son, where it's clear this mini matriarchy are up to something very unusual with the bodies of their children. It doesn't have a strong narrative, and you know from the off that it's not going to get round to answering that main question, what's going on here? It's dreamy, atmospheric and oppressive, nicely shot, and does just enough to warrant a cautious recommendation. The Samurai, or Der Samurai, a German fantasy horror drama, is unfortunately faux arty nonsense. This is a crazy ride for sure, but not the one promised in the film's description. I mean, you'd watch a film with this synopsis, wouldn't you? And I can't say it's not this, but of all the versions that this film could have been from that description, what we got would have been my bottom choice. There's some hinted themes of repressed homosexuality, but any semblance of meaning is lost amongst a random patchwork of scenes aping early 80s goth new wave music videos. It makes zero sense, looks cheap, and did absolutely nothing for me. Sorry to end on such a downer, but I hope there's at least a couple of movies here that piqued your interest, and I'll have another video like this coming soon, well, once I get round to watching 10 more off the Letterboxd list. If you like this video, perhaps take a look at my pick for the most interesting looking upcoming horrors of 2024. And if you're watching this after 2024, watch another video, or go make a sandwich or something, I don't know, I'm not your mom. Thanks for watching.
Game over, man. It's game over.